Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I just, generally speaking, have not had a lot of time to do fan edits or update my fan edit channel. But it's April of 2020 now. And man, oh man, have I got some time on my hands. This is a fan edit that I wanted to do way back when I first saw this movie. I always thought it would be really interesting to see it more as a mystery, to see the whole thing from Truman's perspective. I think this fan edit is one of the rare occasions where it's a legitimate watch, even if you haven't seen the original film. Especially if you haven't seen the original film, because I framed it like a mystery. In the original movie, you know, you kind of know how it's gonna end. It's like watching Titanic. Like, you know he's not gonna, because of the tone of the movie, you know he's not gonna die in there. It's really just about the visual gags. If you know somebody who hasn't seen this movie, or if you haven't seen this movie, go ahead and follow my links and check out my fan edit, because I think this is actually still a pretty good watch. I actually screened it with some people who had never heard of this movie, and it was pretty effective. Pretty effective. That being said, this is a very simple fan edit, so I just kind of want to blow through it real quick. Fun stuff. One of the first big changes that I made to this whole thing was just to give it more of a thriller vibe. Nothing too complicated, just a quick desaturation, just to give the whole thing sort of a more morose mood. I didn't spend any time on tone shifting. It just automatically became a much sadder story. And this whole thing was just about big, lopping chops of the fan edit. Anything that is outside of Truman's world is gone. Anything in the studio, gone. Anything with audience members, obviously gone. Any material where, even if it was in the world, Truman was unaware of it, that's also gone. Yeah, anything with a TV filter on it, the night vision stuff, this bit here, gone, deleted. Then I had to start getting nitpicky. The other thing I had to cut out was stuff that Truman just generally didn't notice. Here, he's talking and he looks away, and the mother says something awful that's a complete lie, and then she gives this kind of look.
Your father was an only child, just like you.
So that look is really telling, and Truman didn't see it, so stuff like that gets chopped out. Anything where the product placement was the point of the shot, that also had to go. So that includes stuff where the wife is like breaking the fourth wall, looking at the camera.
Throw out that mower. Get one of those new elk rotaries.
But because that was such an integral part of her character, I didn't really totally cut it out. I just cut away from it.
You really ought to throw out that mower. Get one of those new elk rotaries.
It's a chef's pal. It's a dicer, grater, peeler, all in one. Never needs sharpening, dishwasher safe.
Wow.
And then the same thing.
It's a chef's pal. It's a dicer, grater, all in one.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I cropped out Jim Carrey's big butt. That was one tone shift decision that I did make. I'm sorry, Ace Ventura and the legacy that you created. You cut out that much material and you do sacrifice length. We are down to 47 minutes from a feature length of an hour and 42. Pretty much cut out an hour of the movie. So it's basically a short film now, but it still feels like a full cohesive story. Because there were two big things that I did structure-wise. Because this is what you do with a conceptual fan edit like this. You start off with like a rule to trim the fat. You say, okay, I'm gonna make a movie that's just from Truman's perspective. So everything that's not in his perspective is gone. But then you also want it to be something that's watchable and interesting, and in this instance, I wanted it to be a mystery. So then you start having to make creative decisions. That meant taking everything that was happening in front of him that was a clue to what's going on, and either getting rid of it, or moving it in the story. The second most obvious thing in the story. I actually decided to cut that out. That was a tough one because I really like this scene, but when I did screen this with some friends who had never seen the movie, they knew right away when they saw the lighting fixture. And then this bit with the rain, it's the most obvious that something's going on, but in the world of science fiction and fantasy, and it doesn't quite spell it out. So I was able to keep this, but I did move it. Which means that in my cut, it goes straight from him talking to his best friend to
Every time you remark.
So he shows up in this scene soaking wet for seemingly no reason. Now, I would feel worse about that if I hadn't seen movies. If you pay attention, there's so many times in official edits of films where somebody shows up soaking wet or with some stuff on them and it is not explained. It doesn't need to be explained really, but it's there because a scene was cut out or moved. Happens all the time. Bigger revelations like that, I moved them towards the end of the movie. The real meat of it was making it to where it's not about him figuring out the nature of his reality. It's about him trying to figure out what happened to his dad. So in the original, he has a panic attack at the docks right at the beginning of the film. And then he goes out with his buddy, heads to the beach, and he has this flashback of what happened to his dad. Okay. So I just took that flashback and moved it to the start of the film so that it seems more like the point of the story. So basically, how the intro of the movie goes now is Truman's dad, Truman going about his day. Panic attack, so back to Truman's dad, then Truman going about his day, and then he sees his dad as a homeless man. And all of this stuff is the reason that I think this is an interesting watch, even if you haven't seen the original film, because stuff like this just seems confusing. So then the whole dad thing leads into him looking through his old box, which leads to him having a flashback. So that kind of hijacks the plot from there on out because there really wasn't much more with the dad. I had to actually cut out this whole thing with the dad coming back. There's nothing that happens with the dad in the movie after that. And also the vignette in this shot, hidden camera shot, is way too thick. Most of the important stuff in that scene happens with a TV filter on it. There was just really no way to put it in there, and it affects the story so little. I just had to get rid of it. The dad doesn't come back, so the whole movie kind of gets hijacked by Sylvia at that point, which makes sense because she lays out a whole other level of the mystery. Kind of chopped up her dialogue a little bit here.
Sweetheart, not again. Hey, wait a minute. Who are you?
I'm her father.
What?
I've never even
Come on,
seen you
sweetie.
before.
Doing anything.
Please, honey.
He's lying.
Honey, please.
Truman, please,
No,
don't listen
no.
to him. Everything
going
I've
on?
told you is the truth.
Please.
It's fake. It's all for you.
I don't
And the
understand.
sky and the
Come on,
sea,
honey.
everything. It's a set.
I don't
It's a
believe-
show. Everybody's
You'll be all
watching
right.
you.
She lays it out a little too much there. So just by cutting out the stuff where she explains it all, it pulls it back into the realm of possibility that maybe she's just mentally ill.
Sweetheart, not again. Hey, wait a minute. Who are you?
I'm her father. Honey.
He's lying.
Honey, please.
Truman, please,
No,
don't listen
no.
to him. Everything
going
I've
on?
told you is the truth.
Please.
It's all for you. Everybody's
be all
watching
right.
you.
You know, I mean, like all this stuff with her like grabbing the sand and dumping it through his fingers. Those are some of the things that, without all the comedy, didn't really require me to do a lot of work for tone shifting. So now, right here, close to the middle of the film, is when he has this kind of revelation and starts really testing things. I always liked this scene because of how dramatic it was. So after he's really sure that his wife is up to no good, he follows her to work. And this was such a weird scene in the movie, even in context. These people in the wheelchair, this stuff always creeped me out. Stuff like that makes his world unsettling. So then he watches this surgery happen with a bunch of fakers.
Primary incision.
You can hear them talking, and all of that's kind of a giveaway. But you can see he's looking through this wire mesh glass here. So to keep it in Truman's perspective, I just went ahead and I made a little graphic of a grid and gave it a soft blur. And then just took all the dialogue that's happening in this scene and muffled it. And then this dude comes along, he pulls down the blinds on him, and the scene continues with the actors.
This isn't going to be pretty unless your family.
A little more editing trickery here.
This isn't going to be pretty.
Then another moment of creative rule breaking. They said I would cut out anything where there was a TV filter, and this one right here is pretty heavy. This is one of the most pivotal scenes in the whole movie, and it's also kind of where the wife character checks out. So I was really okay with her kind of going over the top in this scene and then getting rid of her. I left in this bit.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink?
Pretty heavy-handed, but it could still maybe mean there's some sort of like consumerism thing happening. Like maybe it's not all about Truman. And then everything takes a turn because she says this.
Many choices!
Do something!
Because she says that and it becomes apparent to him at that moment that they're being listened to, it was okay to kind of put the TV filter on there all of a sudden. Then the last thing happens that finally pushes him over the edge. Now in the original movie, there is this montage where they are praising the director for all of the creative ways that he managed to keep Truman in line. Again, all this is kind of played for laughs. I took out the flashback of his dad and put in the flashbacks of everything that's happened to him that's kept him contained there.
Truman! Truman! No! That's off limits!
Why? What's over there?
Nothing. It's dangerous, that's all. You've got to know your limitations, Truman.
I like to be an explorer.
All of the stuff where he gets on the boat, that all happened off camera, except, yay, deleted scenes! So yeah, there was actually a deleted scene of him getting on the boat, which is always great to get crappy footage like this. It looks a little run down, but I got to do a bunch of sound stuff. I like adding sound to scenes. Yeah, and then whatever, then the end of the movie happened. So I really do want to get back to some of my other projects that I've got going. There is my Thor Ragnarok fan edit, which is done. I'm just having some export issues on that. There's my Game of Thrones fan edit. But really, like, I need to know if anybody's watching. And this is not like some kind of corny, call to action thing where it's like, hey, leave a comment and the message is ba-doo-ba-doo. If anybody's checked out the fan films, the final cuts, some feedback. I would love some feedback right now. Like I said, I got a lot of time on my hands now and I'm trying to find what to do with it. If you are just here for the fan edits, there's probably gonna be some more types of material getting uploaded pretty soon. Just because I am just doing anything I can to get myself working on some videos. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the cut. Thanks for watching.